It's a good thing we were taught how to share when we were kids, because some of the hottest places to be these days is in a shared office space. Entrepreneurs, sales, startups, and a second location for some businesses are prime targets for places like these, and there are more and more of them popping up every day. I'm Doc Balgi, your host for today's webinar, and we're going to spend some time on this very topic and discuss some ideas you can share with your customers to help get them set up and running quickly and efficiently. Casey Cobb is assisting with Q&A and chat, and he shared information from a sales perspective earlier today. You can catch a repeat of that presentation in 2 weeks, Tuesday, February 26th at 1 p.m. Sign up at www.acd-inc.com. Hover over PaperCut MF and select webinars to register, just like you did for this one. Stick around for your chance to win a very cool ACDI t-shirt or polo by answering a trivia question at the end of the presentation, and we'll have an open chat as well. Come on in. Have a seat. There's plenty of room as we kick back and share some info on how to set up printing in a shared office. Now, the first thing to do is identify the challenges that face the owners of the shared office spaces. They really want to be able to offer printing to their tenants. So this means that you, the proprietor, need to come up with ideas to entice users to come to your space. Since people are coming and going, it's not like a typical office environment where you have a directory of users and can assign rights based on that. Matter of fact, you might not have anyone in your office that even knows how to do that, since typically a shared office space does not come with an IT department. The end user is bringing in who knows what kind of device that all of their information is on, and sometimes a print driver might not even be available for the device that they have. And the owners of the physical space are going to want a return on their investment, so it'll be cool to provide all of these amenities, but they'll have to be able to pay for them too. And printing is an area that really can become a revenue center for them instead of a liability. Let's see how that works. In your typical corporate office, even smaller ones, there's typically some kind of server set up to keep track of everyone. The operating system can vary, and there are many, many directory services out there. As you've heard us here at ACDI lately, we've been shouting out at the rooftops about PaperCut having integration with G Suite, and the first print management and currently the only print management software that can do that. Macs are generally set up with Open Directory. And there's many Linux flavors available. Of course, we will need to sync from the cloud. Now, that's pretty much gone with shared office environments. They don't have any of that. So how are we going to deal with the constant influx of users coming and going? Stay tuned. We just discussed the typical corporate environment, and no matter what network operating system they have, there are people that manage the system. Sometimes there are dedicated personnel for the workstations. Some are just for the server, or perhaps only email, depending on how much separation of duties they have going on. Database administrators may be needed, depending on the enterprise software they're running. Now, shared office, they have a guy. Just like when something goes wrong at home, you got a guy to call. Now, it doesn't have to be male. I'm not being sexist. That's just the phrase. I got a guy. And that person that they call to assist at the shared office would have to know about all sorts of things to get printing set up with different manufacturers and devices. That alone will stretch them pretty thin. So whatever we do here needs to be easy to set up, easy to use, and of course, it should just work. Every device has its own way of connecting to one thing or another, and it can even vary depending on what version of software you're using. I'm a big Android fan, but that's one of the drawbacks. What OS are you on? iOS is a little more stable, providing the end user has done their updates. Speaking of updates, how about that laptop that's just been handed to you, Windows or Mac? You never know what kind of system it's running or if it's up to date. And sometimes the applications even need to be updated to print correctly on a specific printer. Everything is a variable when it comes to trying to get ink or toner on paper, like print drivers. I can almost always guarantee an issue when Mac updates the operating system, as the manufacturers can literally take months to get a working driver out. Then there's PostScript versus PCL, PCL 5 versus PCL 6, or proprietary driver from the OEM. Just trying to find the right driver for one computer to use can take hours sometimes. Then along comes a Windows update, and on certain drivers, that can cause a problem. So installing and maintaining print drivers on a fleet of unknown devices all day long would not be something that I would want to do. And as mentioned earlier, about making printing a revenue generator. Well, you'll need to know who is printing and be able to generate a report so you can charge for this activity. So how does that happen when I don't have a directory? It's hard to get a device printing. I don't have IT to get the software up and running, plus maintaining it, running reports. I'm getting way overwhelmed. I mean, it looks like I'll need a lot more staff to run the shared office than I thought, and maybe I'll have unhappy residents, and what's this? ACDI to the rescue? These aren't daunting tasks at all, and you don't have to be a superhero to make this happen. But you know what? You'll look like one, and you'll feel like one. By the way, this has not been approved by Marvel. It's not been endorsed by them. In my own little way here, I really just wanted to pay my respects to Stan Lee and thank him for showing us what a little imagination can do. Back to business. This is the real way ACDI can come to your rescue with PrinterOn and PaperCut MF. PrinterOn comes with an enterprise and a hosted version. We'll be discussing the hosted version today to keep in line with shared office space and minimal IT. We find PrinterOn very useful also in like hospitality, hotels, and libraries as well. Reason being is PrinterOn has several ways to get your documents to the printer quickly and easily with no IT involvement at all. There's apps, you can email, there's a Windows driver, even a web upload, and an option to charge for printing by PayPal integration. PrinterOn has apps for iOS and Android. You'll see them in their respective stores. They're free to download. These apps provide ways to browse for a printer to send your document to that, and it can be either released on its own or it can be held to be released later. The app is actually very intuitive. It makes it easy to send authenticated print jobs from your smartphone. PrinterOn has been established and working for quite some time. You might even be surprised if you downloaded the app and searched in your area for printers. There's a good chance you'll see some. And if you find mine, well, don't send it because you won't be able to pick it up. Any device can email, so send the job over and PrinterOn will render it. You can send just about any kind of document. Since this is a hosted solution, PrinterOn has conversions in the cloud for many file types. A release code will be sent back to the user so they can obtain their print job securely. For Windows only, there is a Printwhere Driver that can be downloaded. Now, this driver provides the same type of search for your printers that we see in the mobile app and a history of your print jobs. And finally, there's a web upload. End users are provided with a URL that they can access with easy-to-follow instructions, all provided, and even some links to the frequently asked questions. PayPal is the only choice with PrinterOn hosted for an external payment. PayPal accounts, of course, are very common. They can be set up quickly if an end user doesn't have one. Set up the charges for the print however you like, and then you can have your patrons use this method of payment, and it all gets deposited right into your merchant account automatically. PaperCut MF is another option we have at ACDI to set up shared office. With the release of Mobility Print, it's been 2 years already. This method has been becoming very popular with shared office as it's easy to set up and end users can do everything on their own. As we saw user management being one of the issues of shared office, it's good to note that PaperCut can actually be our directory service as well. Maybe you want to start with a list of the current occupants and manage it manually later, or continue to use spreadsheets. I know of a university that manages thousands of users by spreadsheet only. Tab-separated files are what's needed, and all you need to do to create one is go to Excel and then save your list as text tab delimited. Good to go. Perhaps as part of the onboarding process with your tenant, you'll want to create the user profile on the spot. Here's the form. There's not a lot of info that's needed, so you could manually create a PaperCut user in seconds. And if you'd like to put that capability in the hands of your tenants in the office, then you can put a link in the login page of PaperCut, customized with the text that you want to display. They click on the link, put in the info, and done. You know, most of us are used to doing something like that just for a website. And I showed you the form on the previous slide, so it's very simple to fill out. The different choices that users have today are great for them to decide on whether they want, performance or maybe just the basics, with hardware and software prices that cover a wide spectrum. And every person can discover and use a device that works for them. But making those work in an enterprise system is the trick. This is where mobility print comes in. And PaperCut's integration into Chromebooks is what caught Google's eye and the main reason why they reached out to partner with us. How cool is that? This system allows anyone on the same Wi-Fi segment to click on a link that provides a 1.5-minute video with instructions on how to print with their device. Only Android and Chromebooks need an app, and they're in their respective stores, so it's not a third-party app. iOS works just like AirPrint. There's nothing to install. Windows and Mac install a PaperCut global print driver so that they can do a native file print with their documents. Depending on how many people are in the office, you might be able to put PaperCut on a Windows 10 device. And if it's just one subnet, most likely it is in this type of environment, that installing mobility print takes all of 5 minutes to get it up and running. It is that easy. Here's another option, PaperCut, that's been a part of the program for many years, and that's web print, truly driverless printing. A tenant in the shared office space would simply log on to PaperCut, and then they can browse or drag and drop a document onto this page for processing, with the print going to a hold queue or printing straight out, whatever's needed. Right off the bat, we can use this with native image type files, PDF, TIFF, JPEG, PNG, and a couple others. For Microsoft documents, then you'll need to configure a web print server and install Microsoft Office so those file types can get rendered for print. It's not difficult to set up, but did want you to be aware of the Office requirement to make this work. We'll need to do the same thing if you want to turn on PaperCut's email to print. Microsoft Office will need to be installed to render Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. However, this can be the same computer as your web print server. It's also possible to run more than one email to print server if you have a lot of activity and notice some bottlenecks during printing. The cool thing about this solution is that it doesn't waste paper by printing the email itself. It will just print the attachment. And yes, this can go to a hold queue for release as well. There's even an option to provide a different email address for each printer so jobs can easily be accessed from the user. Did you know that ACDI sells hardware like coin ops and card readers? If you've been buying your card readers elsewhere, you might want to check us out, as we are one of the largest RFIDs resellers in the country. ACDI started 25 years ago with hardware and still selling a lot of coin ops and revalue stations. This has been really popular with library solutions for many years, and you'll see copiers with coin ops in many locations for public access. Well, this is just another way of offering a print-for-pay strategy. And we can have mobile payment option too, so you could use Apple Pay, for instance. Of course, credit cards, coins, bills, also available to be used. Our revalue station could also be set up to release jobs as well as add funds to their PaperCut account. PaperCut also integrates with several payment gateways. I'm using PayPal as the example here since it is very popular, and of course we used it with PrinterOn as well. So with PayPal integrated into PaperCut, tenants can put money on their account, and you could even turn on a web cashier inside of PaperCut. This way you could charge for other miscellaneous items you might have available for purchase for your tenants. The PayPal gateway is an add-on to PaperCut, but for web cashier, all you have to do is turn it on. I've mentioned hold queues during this presentation and want to make sure that you're aware of the core feature of PaperCut, secure and or find me printing. They are similar in that the job is held until released and deleted if not picked up within a specific time period. Secure print goes to a specific device, and find me brings the print job to the user so they can release the job at the device in front of them. This is accomplished with queue redirection, and it's both simple and elegant at the same time. Once the job is held, now you have many options to release the document. One way is with an embedded solution on the copier. PaperCut can be installed on about 20 different manufacturer MFPs. This means that a customer can buy PaperCut from you, and if your dealership decides to pick up another line, you could still support your customer with the same software. It's not device-specific. Our feature sets have been getting stronger, and now some OEMs will allow you to change print job settings and account selections at the device after you've sent the job and before you release it. Keep following ACDI for updates on the expansion of this feature. Hey, I got a great idea. Why not subscribe to ACDI's YouTube channel? These webinars are recorded, they're posted there, as well as other informative videos. Go take a look. Here's another product that we used to use a lot before we had so many embedded manufacturer applications, and we do still use this with single function printers. It's called Fast Release. A fast release is a small appliance that gets connected to the network and has a switch in it to connect your MFP. While you do need two IP addresses, one is for the appliance and one's for the copier, you only need one physical network drop. Then you can attach a card reader or numeric keypad, and the user can identify themselves with a badge or a pin. Now, there's no selection of jobs with this solution. You just tap and go, and all of your print jobs come out. Just yours, not everybody else. And this is done without having to touch any other buttons. Again, this is known as a fast release because it is. We discussed the portal that tenants can access to add funds to their PaperCut account. Well, they can also access their held print jobs and release or cancel them on the same portal. By the way, there's no setup needed. As long as PaperCut is running and a user has a PaperCut login, then they have access to their own portal. A history of their jobs is also available, so they can easily see what they've been charged for on their own. Another option is to set up a release station. This can be installed on any operating system. There's even a Raspberry Pi version if you'd like to build your own. Release stations allow users to see all the jobs of the queue and gives them the ability to print or cancel from there. A similar function exists in the management console of PaperCut. So an administrator in the office space could easily look up a job for a tenant and then either print, release, or modify settings. And finally, tenants can release jobs with their mobile device. You can access PaperCut with a URL, or I like using QR codes. There's a new server command in PaperCut now to generate QR codes, or you'll find many applications on the internet. It's really easy to generate a QR code. You've seen them. There's a sample right there, that little square box thing. So we've got that printer named 1234 for easy reference. If it was a real code, it would actually take you to the PaperCut release screen with your mobile device and provide options for printing. And then just to make it a nice big package with a pretty bow, most of our manufacturers offer integrated scanning. And with a couple of clicks, easy to use scan actions can be set up on the MFP to provide tenants with the capability of scanning a document to their email or favorite cloud storage location securely, even with multiple companies using the device. Scan locations keep getting added, and last week, Evernote and pCloud were added to the list. Now that's convenience. There are so many affordable options that work very well using either PrinterOn, PaperCut MF, maybe a combination. We've done that too. If you need to have full feature printing with stapling and hole punching, other finishing options, then you might want to consider setting up a shared computer or two in the office. User logs in with PaperCut credentials and releases their job in any other ways that we've just discussed, or just have it print out since they're right there. Endless options and opportunities to help your customer provide the services that their tenants need. All at a good price point, and more importantly, easy to use with very little maintenance. Doesn't get any better than that. Thanks for joining our webinar today. I'm Doc Malgi for ACDI.